Welcome back, guys, to the Rick Podcast. Really stoked for this one. We got the RevX cold plunge guys here. We got Mike Nigai and we got Andrew Craig on the podcast with us today from RevX Wellness, and then we got our boy Shane on the podcast as well. So we're gonna dive right into it. Do some introductions and just kind of talk about the company, why cold plunging is so great for us. I do it all the time. I think it's great. Why I think your company is a little bit different and why I picked your guys' company as well. You guys are helping out a lot of the first responders as well. That's how I found you guys. Mike, go for it, man. Kind of take it away and start it, and we'll get to Andrew and start asking some questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, so I founded RevX Wellness a few years ago. It was by true accident, right? I saw my wife in the wintertime in our pool, and we live in Southern California, and I was like, what the heck are you doing? And she was in the pool. It was maybe like 45 degrees Fahrenheit, and she was essentially cold plunging. I had no idea anything about it. And, she basically educated me on the benefits and why she was doing it. And, I was very nervous about it, but I had to try it. At that time, our children were very young and required a lot of chasing. And I was losing my breath, to be honest, chasing them around. And so I knew that, hey, my health was definitely not in the right place. And after just doing a couple of cold plunge sessions in our pool in that wintertime, I immediately saw results, right? My energy levels went up. I immediately started doing all of the things that I would usually put away. I was doing everything because I was focused and I was finding all these different levels of energy, and I just had to put that energy into something. And after, of course, in the springtime, after the water got too warm, I ended up buying a little pod and did the whole ice thing for about a month, going to Costco and trying to find the cheapest way to buy ice. And that got too expensive, even, with Costco discounts. And then I ended up buying a complete cold plunge system. And I'm not going to say the company, but that system ended up breaking on me a couple months after I bought it. And that company said that it was my fault. And I spent thousands of dollars on this system. And they essentially said, hey, it will cost thousands of dollars and for them to repair it. And, it just didn't make any sense for me. I was so pissed off because all I wanted to do was cold plunge. And I had this broken, expensive system in my backyard. And, and that's basically when RevX Wellness was born. I really got really pissed off at this whole cold plunging rabbit hole that a lot of shoppers go through. There's a lot of brands out there. You don't know who to trust, what's reliable, what's really going to work. And, my original background is for the last 20 years, I did something what's called value innovation. This is where I work with many companies, and let's say they need a solution for a certain operational or marketing or any type of challenge that they're experiencing in their company. We essentially create a strategy, and I usually travel to Asia and I build a custom engineered solution built for that purpose. So I said to myself, hey, listen, why don't I apply what I'm really, really good at and try and design and engineer a really solid cold plunging that's built to last and that's not just built, to sell. And essentially, what we engineered, and we have a patent pending on this, is our 3-part cold plunge system, where we have a separate chiller, a separate filtration system, and a tub. And it's all connected with insulated tubing, and we have all of the right components internally that are high grade, high quality, that our customers can rely on, depend on, and not worry about this thing breaking down or tough maintenance or anything like that. And we even thought through the maintenance, meaning if something does break down the road, it's easy to access, easy to replace, and easy to maintain. Because at the end of the day, that was my real big problem with the system that I bought, is that the water pump that's at the heart of the system of every cold plunge was inside the chiller. And when you open that thing up, it's complex. Like you have to be a master plumber in order to even do any type of work on it. And all of the parts were proprietary from this company, meaning you can't just go on Amazon and buy a replacement part. So, you know, I really feel kind of still bad even today, because this was years ago, right? You'd think that the industry would have improved by now, that a lot of companies would kind of evolve and try and make a better product. And I really truly believe that we are one of the only companies that has a mission to, design, engineer, and provide a product that's really meant to last and be reliable. So I think of it as a commercial system for home use, which again, I don't think there isn't one out there at our price range. So that's kind of my quick story of kind of what happened and how we started the company. And we have we're still growing. We still have a lot to do. I also think of it as, we're trying to build the best engine. Like if you think of a comparison to a car, right? Like we're trying to build the best cold plunge system, and, constantly making little improvements. We're always, research and developing in my backyard, in our factories overseas, because we want to provide the best for the best price.
Yeah, that's I noticed that. That's what drew me to you guys, Mike, was the you said the commercial grade for like your home usage, because I would read a lot of the reviews and it'd be like, man, this system worked for 6 months or a year, and you're looking at like 0.5 horsepower, 1 horsepower, and you're like, wow, what's the difference on all these, right? And trying to figure out, like you said, there's a huge rabbit hole you can go down to trying to figure out like what's worth it. Does it really worth that huge price cost? Is it going to last me? Is it not? Is it going to break down? How's the maintenance? All those things, for sure. And that's what drew me to you. And then also just you guys, knowing some of my Long Beach buddies, for sure. That's how I met you, Andrew. Take it away, man.
That's right. So first off, Eric and Shane, thank you very much for having us on this podcast. It's great to have this opportunity. I know it took several months for us to put this together, balancing 4 pretty busy schedules. So glad we were able to make it happen eventually. But my story is actually kind of interesting. I actually met Mike as one of his very first customers of the business. And I've had a passion for health and wellness basically my entire life. Discovered the magic of cold plunging. And when I met Mike, just being that I was local to him, we actually had some personal one-on-one face-to-face interactions where I got to know him as a person and also get to see his vision for the company. And I was just very impressed by the vision that he had and the product itself. And I just asked, hey, how can I get involved? And one thing turned into another. The rest is history. And now we're business partners. So that's kind of my story.
Yeah. So what are you doing exactly right now? Like what's your role in this? Because you started some of the engineering, Mike, correct? Obviously, right?
Design and engineering, absolutely. Like manufacturing at its core. Yeah, that's my background.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, with us being, a younger company, we wear a lot of hats, so it's kind of hard to define our roles with like one simple label. But I would say I'm more of the customer facing person. My voice, I'm sure, sounds familiar to any listeners to the podcast who are customers of RevX, whether it was during their purchase process or any support that they've needed after the fact. I've kind of been holding down that role, as well as just, kind of the big picture decision making alongside with Mike, just kind of following his lead and his vision for the company.
Yeah. I know you were the one that mainly helped me. I reached out to
That's
you.
right.
I called the number, and I saw some YouTube videos and Instagram, and I put a name to the face. I was like, oh man, okay, well, right on. That's cool. It's actually we have customer service. I'm talking to somebody, right? And you would respond to messages right away. You're like, hey man, any time you have an issue, shoot me a text, give me a call. We'll get right back to you, right? And I think maybe that's because it's smaller right now. Maybe I'm thinking the vision is probably to keep that. But to have that customer service, I think in this world right now, you guys, that was a big impression on me personally. Because it was like, you know what, hey, if I'm going to make a phone call, they're going to get back. And I felt bad sometimes calling you, Andrew. I was like, oh man, I'm going to figure this out. You got the YouTube, right? I'm going to do all the research on my own. And you're like, hey dude, just let me know if there's any kind of issue. Let me know. We'll get it figured out. Our lines are always open. One of us will answer. We're here to help you. And I think customer service, and I think for firemen as well too, there's, like, we all talk about the bullshit detector, right? It's like with you guys, I noticed pretty quick where it was, you guys cared. And I think that's what sold me for sure. And obviously the 3-part system, the water's great. It stays freaking clean, which is awesome. And it's like super quiet. Yeah, it's been great. Shane, do you really, what about your cold plunge history, man?
Yeah, I was actually going to ask them, like, what year did you found this, Mike?
In 2023.
Okay.
So just a couple of years ago.
And so like probably most people that were introduced to Wim Hof, I heard him on the Joe Rogan podcast, I don't know, probably 10 years or more ago. And at the time I was doing a lot of offshore diving. I was doing salvage diving, commercial diving. So I was in the Pacific Ocean, that was my cold plunging back then, was all day long, 5-6 hours of work underwater. And when I heard Wim Hof stuff and the cold immersion, that's when I sort of started down that path. I've never owned a system, very much interested in one. Eric told me he had found yours. So yeah, I was excited to get to know you guys. But um, so what is you're obviously probably very versed going back to how this all came about. This, like, why is cold plunging so big now? Can you take us through some of that, like how you guys have developed, I'm sure, like research to why you developed it, what, like, particular temperatures your machine goes to, anything I'm fascinated
Yeah,
by the
no,
research.
definitely. Yeah. I mean, when before designing or engineering anything, you have to do the research, right? You have to create a strategy and a product roadmap for your solution. And essentially you go down a rabbit hole. What is a chiller? That was like my 3-month journey of figuring out what is a chiller. Like
Yeah,
it's crazy. I know what a heater is because I have one for my pool, but
yeah.
what the hell's a chiller, and how does it work? How does it cool the water down? I mean, that literally was probably like a 3-month research, looking at all the YouTube videos available, meeting with all sorts of air conditioning professionals, and so on. But at the end of it, it was the trip that I went to Asia where I really kind of discovered, the truth sort of behind it and how do you make the best version of it. So on that trip, I went to several different chiller manufacturers, and one of my criteria was we wanted exclusivity. If we're going to work with a factory, we wanted exclusivity because we didn't want someone else to sort of copy our design and engineering, because I wanted my signature on it. And when we picked one, they're pretty big manufacturer. They gave me options on all of these components to choose from. So what I did, I said, what's the most expensive ones? And they said these ones. And we went and we selected the Panasonic compressor, right? The Japanese made condenser and the highest grade titanium tubing. Basically, like, we selected the Cadillac, if you will, of chillers. And, the end is history. When you select the best components to make the product, you get the best results. I truly believe in that. Because again, the worst thing I could have done is put our customers in the same situation I was in when I spent thousands of dollars and I ended up with that paperweight. Like, that would be the worst case, right? So, um, cold plunging is it's still a mystery for many people, like how it works. How do you keep the water cold and clean? There's definitely some, clever engineering involved, because it's not easy, especially if you live in states where it's always hot and humid, like Florida, Texas, Arizona, or even Southern California. So you have to think a lot about insulation and water flow and just components and different tolerances. So the system that we are offering today meets, I'd say, 95% of what I would describe as the ultimate cold plunge, where it's economical, meaning it's affordable as you compare it to other systems, and it's commercial quality for home use. I mean, that's really the bar that we set for ourselves as we were kind of thinking about it and making it.
And just to expand on what Mike said there, I think a big factor that people notice when they use our system, we currently use a 1,700 gallon per hour water pump. So our flow rate is, significantly higher than what you're going to find from other companies. Not only is this good on a technical side for the actual system itself, but for the actual plunging experience, having that high flow rate, it breaks your thermal barrier. It makes the feels like temperature in the water more intense, which is just beneficial across the board.
As far
Yeah,
as
I've seen some of that research about sitting in still water, your body
Right.
creates a thermal layer. That's kind of what you're saying, right? That you naturally, so like moving induces more of that shiver effect. So you're saying that the flow does that for you. Essentially, is that what I'm
Absolutely.
understanding?
Exactly. So your body puts heat off into the water, and so the water that's just outside of the surface of your skin absorbs that heat, and so you always want to keep that barrier from forming. And basically, one way of breaking it is just moving around in the water, but the other way is by having the system do it for you by creating that high flow rate.
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah, you
that's
wouldn't. Oh, go ahead.
no go for it. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just gonna say you wouldn't believe like how many customers talk to us about the flow rate and asking for higher flow rate. So we have a new system coming out in a couple of weeks that is powered by a 2,400 gallon per hour water pump. I mean, the water is shooting out like a jet. It's really for people who are looking for that extreme feeling of breaking down their thermal barrier, and they sometimes call it like the river effect. So if you went cold plunging in a river and that stream just hitting you in the chest and your face and you're just like experiencing mother nature, they want that same feeling, in their tub at home, because they are, I would say, on, out there. It's like an edge case. It's a very small percentage, but these people are they I wouldn't say they enjoy pain, but they have high tolerance, for pain, and and uh, and they truly understand the one thing is that by being uncomfortable for a small amount of time in that tub will make you indestructible for the next 5 hours, no matter what you're going to face, whether it's mental or physical. You're going to just get it done, and they really push their bodies and their minds, and they train themselves with these extreme situations. And I really applaud these people. I think they're true mentors for their friends and family. And we have a lot of these customers. They're going through a lot of hard times, and these are the tools that help them through it.
You guys, in this process, I think I want to make sure we get the whole linear process from when someone's interested in even seeing what it's all about to ordering it to it to being delivered. So I want to make sure we cover all that so anybody out there understands it. But in my mind, I was just thinking about, so like as you said, like we have our extremists that I would, Eric and I probably fall in that type of category, being firefighters. Just you're like 2,400 gallon. I'm like, dude, send it. That sounds perfect.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm like, yes,
I
I'm gonna buy it right away. Let me know. I'm gonna get
right. Yeah.
it.
So a lot of the people listening are probably going to resonate with things like that. And I actually teach Swift water, and that's one of the first things I do on day one is everyone has to get in the river basically in their shorts, go neck deep and work through breathing to kind of get hypothermic proof is a kind of what I jokingly call it, for exactly what you just said, is showing them, hey, you can survive. It's just
Yep.
overcoming that mental panic of the initial immersion. But what about the average person? I mean, what about different ages? I mean, is this something you want limited to a certain age group? Are we only targeting athletes on this? What's your guys' research showing you? Is this tough for everybody?
Andrew, you want to take it? I can.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, we kind of, our system really works for anybody at any experience level, because the cool part about that flow rate is, yes, it gives you that extreme experience. For the person, let's say, who's setting their chiller to our lowest temperature, which is 34, which to my knowledge is the lowest in the industry. but that flow rate is what's helping them get that feels like temperature that feels even lower than 34. And obviously at 34, you're approaching freezing, so the water temperature can't get much colder and remain water. So that flow rate is what allows that, that extra intensity level of experience. And for people who are not looking to go, so intense, maybe they're plunging in the 50s to 60s, that flow rate isn't going to be problematic there. It's just going to, kind of aid, and it also helps the efficiency of the system. So I would say we're kind of built for all, levels of cold plunging. And the other cool part is that, the flow rate only comes in through one side of the tub. So if it's too intense for you on that side, you just move to the other side and make that the side that you plunge from. So it's not actually something that like weeds out people who are more about like the beginner or less extreme level. It just kind of gives you, I guess, options to take it either way.
I remember, Mike, I watched a YouTube video and you said that. You're like, if you want your cold plunge experience to be, more cold, sit on the side where, the flow rates. I'm like, dude, okay, you're selling me something. Okay, I get it. What's it going to change, right? And as I started researching the flow rate and understand, I'm like, okay, I get it now. And I've actually noticed a difference because when that's about 3 weeks to a month where that flow rate's kind of gone down because of filter. And so
Yep.
I'm constantly, I want that thing to be, because it comes out pretty fast when it's nice and fresh. And so I'm constantly switching that filter out. I'm like, hey, if that's like the lowest maintenance I got to do, a few bucks, I'll switch those out every couple weeks if I have to, because when that filter is good for the first 2 or 3 weeks, that it's coming out hard. And I can tell a big difference. And I'm on the side of the jet, and I'm right with you guys. I'm like, yeah, feels good.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That's a good indicator. When your flow rate decreases, yeah, it's definitely time to change the filter. Hope you're enjoying the easy access. You open the doors to the filtration cabinet, and the filter's right there. We include the tool and how to do it, and even in selecting that filter and the housing in that filter, we could have selected a housing and a filter that was super custom, that we are the only ones who sell it, and you have to buy it from us, and we could have jacked up the price. And again, we selected a standard size, something that you can buy from us, to get the best deal, or you can still go to Amazon or Home Depot, whatever, and it's still available. But you're right. I love sitting on the side with the jets, because even my chest, like when you come out, and you press on your body, you're like, wow. You feel like you're in the meat locker for like an hour with Wim Hof, hitting you with a stick, as you walk through it or something, and you're like, dang, I really feel like I did something here. Amazing.
Yeah. So can we dive into the 3-part system? I know we kind of touched on it a little bit. I have the system. I love it, but coming from the engineer and the guys that have made it, can we dive into why? Because some systems have a one-part system. It's like in the tub. Some have a 2-part system, and then you guys have a 3-part system. Like, what kind of made you guys go down the 3-part system? And if you can kind of dive into that a little bit more.
Absolutely. So we were definitely inspired by the DIY community. So do-it-yourselfers, absolutely. We did a ton of research, and we discovered that the DIY community is the best at figuring things out. I mean, hands down, right? These guys can build you a house by just going to Home Depot. Like, you can't beat that, right? So we've been looking at how they've been handling cold plunging for years, right? They've been buying tubs from Home Depot and sort of creating their own cold plunges, out of several parts that they could find on eBay or Amazon. I'm talking about like 5 years ago, before any really commercial brand was even available. And so we've looked at a lot of their work, and we've basically built some prototypes and tested. And we were looking to hit a few different metrics, like really high on. One was we wanted to cool the water down fast and to the lowest temperature possible. In the beginning, our chiller technically can cool it down to 32. We just literally we intentionally do not allow it because you could break it essentially too fast by running it that low. So 34 is our bottom. And we were, looking at flow rate for system efficiency. Think of like a pool. We also looked at the pool industry. And when, the pool, if the water stays without movement, the water will turn bad. I don't care how much chlorine you put into it or whatever. The water has to be moving in order for it to be, in order for it to stay clean. So we were inspired by that. And this is where we decided, hey, we're going to have the fastest water pump in our system because it's like your heart in your body. It's responsible for the flow of everything through the system. And of course, we were very passionate about cleanliness of water and how do you keep the water clean. And from there, we discovered that the DIY industry really liked the ozone option. But we found out that ozone is really safe if you're planning to have your cold plunge outside. And we discovered that UV was the alternative option for indoor use. So that's why, in our product options, we offer both ozone filtration system or UV system. And the Extreme, this new product that's coming out later in March, we are offering an Extreme version that has both ozone and UV. So we were really, really focused on those two elements, the chiller and the filtration system, because the tub, we always, and even today, we feel like, it can really be any water container. It can still be, we sell a lot to the DIY community where they have a tub, they have their own version of it, or they have a wine barrel, or they have a cooler. I mean, we've heard a lot of different things. In fact, we've even worked with some people that build a custom in-ground like mini pool for cold plunging. And they wanted a filtration system and a chiller for it. So we are working, with various different customers with different goals. And the 1, 2, 3 solution gives us and the customer the best flexibility because it's so modular. If you look at a 2-part system where the chiller and filtration system all in one, it seems like it's a really great idea, and it looks really cool. But internally, from an engineering perspective and design perspective, it has many, many flaws. And the number one flaw of it is that inside of it, it has very intricate plumbing, which decreases water flow. The water pump is not replaceable, meaning once it's broken, and it's always the first part to break on any cold plunge system, you have a very heavy paperweight, I call it. Because chillers, those all-in-one chillers, they weigh like 100 plus pounds. I mean, shipping that thing back and forth, from whoever you bought it, that's very, it's a big headache. It's expensive. Usually our competitors charge for you to ship it back to them in order for them to fix it. That's even if it's under warranty. So meaning there's a lot of hassle with those all-in-one chillers. And frankly, if anyone on this podcast, remembers one thing is that do not fall for this kind of flawed, cheap, or maybe expensive marketing of companies trying to sell you this all-in-one chiller. Because I'll tell you that it's really designed and made by companies overseas, this all-in-one chiller. It's not an idea that came from America. It's an idea that came from there. And those people there, and I've been there many times, and I can honestly attest to this, they do not cold plunge. Meaning they make a product, they sell a product, they have no idea what it's for. And, the ones that know what it's for, if you ask them if you've plunged and you use it, they'll say no. Because in that culture over there, I'll be honest with you, I don't know why, but hopefully many people will agree with this because I heard it from them, is that they don't like cold water. So they just, it's like against what they practice every day.
Who does like cold water?
Well, hey, I love cold water.
No, I love it now. I used to be the biggest. That was my thing. Like it had to be like go to the lake. Nevada in the summertime, water's like 70, 80 degrees. Go to Hawaii, I'm good. And that was my big hurdle. I was like, this water, screw you. Like, no, you're not gonna have power over me anymore, right?
It's the gnarliest thing. I'll just expand on the whole, like, how do you start cold plunging? I think that was like one of the interesting questions. Our recommendation is really kind of like the journey that I think all of us went through, right? Definitely start, if you're listening to this and you just want to get going, definitely start with a cold shower, right?
Mhm.
Wake up in the morning and just start with a cold shower and see how that feels. Because cold plunging, at the end of the day, everyone has a different experience, with it. Some people will love it right away and they will pass the cold shower phase, within a week. They'll be like, you know what? I really like it. This is for me. Great. If you're past that phase, then get a very inexpensive, they're called ice pods. We sell them as well. But for that ice pod, you will need to buy ice. And I strongly recommend it. Yes, you will spend some money on ice, but it's going to be worth it for two reasons. One reason, you'll get to experience that really cold temperature, and you'll see if that's for you. And the second thing, that ice pod will force you to clean it every 3 days because there's no water movement in there, and that water will get really nasty, smelly within 3 days, depending on how many users you have. I suggest to also do it as a couple, meaning if you're married or you have a girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever, just do it together as a team, because it will be much easier to get through that first phase. If once you get through this ice pod and buying ice phase, I recommend 2 to 4 weeks. Do that, because you will get a lot of benefits out of it, and you will experience the pain of how much money you're spending on ice, the drive to your gas station or grocery store, and the cleaning, that pain. You got to feel it. And then once you survive through that pain and you feel like, man, I just love the benefits of cold plunging, which Andrew will talk here in a minute about, you will want to invest into a cold plunge system. And, for me, I love spontaneous cold plunging, meaning my system's always running and I cold plunge anytime I want. And that's what our system is built around, this 24/7 offering. And, but at the same time, if you want to plunge at a very specific time, you want to shut part of it off and have the chiller turn on at a certain time, so your water's cold by a certain time, we can walk you how to do that too.
Wait. You could do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we recommend, it's like $14 on Amazon. Eric, we're going to send you a link after this. It's basically a smart outlet. Think of like Christmas tree lights.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Right? You
Got it.
get that, you connect our chiller into it, you create a little schedule, of when you want that chiller to turn on and off. Our chiller has an intelligent sensor inside of it, so when it detects power, it right away remembers your last setting. So it turns on and starts to cool water down to your last setting. And then within just an hour to 2 hours, it will reach that temperature that you want, and you can cold plunge.
I feel like it reaches it faster than 1 to 2 hours. It goes pretty quick.
Well, it's wintertime right now.
Cool. Yeah, true. Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, is that our chiller is so powerful that honestly, if you do let it run 24/7, it's only going to actually be in cooling mode for a small fraction of the day. So from an efficiency standpoint, I recommend, maybe test it out, individual people at home, see how it impacts your utility bill, using the smart plug that Mike mentioned, or just letting it run all the time. I personally believe, just from seeing mine at home, it runs so little when it's running 24/7. That from an efficiency standpoint, I almost think it's better that way.
So how long will it actually last? How many hours is that the actual how long will it last? How many hours will that last if you run it full time?
Absolutely. So again, the compressor inside, so take any chiller out there, the first thing that will fail most likely is the compressor. So our compressor is rated for 20,000 hours. So if you do the math, that's
it's about 2.5 years of constantly running. But to that point, if I was making earlier about how it self-manages itself, goes into idle mode, and it spends the majority of time in idle mode. If you kind of like extrapolate that out, we're looking at many, many years of life. Between 7 and 10 years, maybe. So
Yeah.
You got it. 7 to 10 years is our forecast.
Yeah, I remember you were saying that, Andrew, and I was like, should I turn it off? Can I keep it running? And it hasn't really made my bill actually much more, like $30 maybe, somewhere around there. And it's like it's constantly running. Sometimes I have it set at 38. And so it has that 5 because that's a setting you guys have it at, right? It's every 5 degrees. When it goes up 5 degrees, then it sets it back down, then 5 degrees.
Yep.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, it works. Yeah, definitely. It works like a thermostat in your house, right? So basically, you set it to 38. It reaches down, it cools the water down to 38, and then it goes into what we call idle mode. So the chiller's still on. It detects the temperatures, but it's not in cooling mode anymore. And basically, it waits for the water to warm up by 5 degrees, which takes hours. And then it automatically turns on and brings the water down to that set temperature. So, my system has a 7 degree variance, for example, because so you can change it, Eric. We can send you a video on how to do that. So if you want your system to be even more efficient, you can set it to 7 or whatever you want.
Awesome.
So can you guys talk about too? Because from what I understand, it's not limited to just going to cold water, right?
It's a great question. Yes, absolutely. One of the reasons we also added the heat as a standard function was for our customers in really cold climates, right? So think of like Colorado, you're in the mountains and the temperatures, let's say, are really constant in like around 0 Fahrenheit, which is really cold. So in that situation, our system goes into heating mode. So if our customers set it to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, our system actually will continue to warm the water in that climate, and it will maintain it at that 5 degree variance still. So it will jump from 40 to 35 and will continue to operate and function just like it does, anywhere else. Um, so that's really the point of the heating function. A lot of people, think of, oh, I'm just going to use it as a hot tub as well, right? And I'll do hot and cold. There's actually products out there that do that, but that was not the intention, and it never is the intention, because if you're going to use it as a hot tub in that kind of a smaller 100-gallon type of water container, your body's going to sweat. And when your body starts to sweat, that water, I don't care at that point, I don't care if you're what you're using for sanitation, that water is going to be bad. And you're going to start wearing and tearing the whole system, the filtration system, because, at the end of the day, we're humans, and there are oils and all sorts of things that come out of us, toxins and things like that, that end up clogging the system when we sweat. So we really recommend, using a sauna, and a traditional sauna. We can talk about that if you guys want. I personally have a traditional sauna, and I really like to get that thing super hot, and then do a cold. First I do sauna, then cold plunge, then sauna, then always end on a cold plunge, and I feel great after that.
Yeah. Since we're talking about the compressor, can we hit the horsepowers? Because you guys have some different levels of horsepower in the compressor. And as I was trying to find one, there's so much information out there of like, do I get a 1 horsepower, 1.5, 2 horsepower, depending on where you live, summertime, wintertime. Can you kind of dive into that a little bit?
Yeah, I can. Or Andrew, you want to take that one? I mean,
Yeah. So we have our 3 standard horsepower options, which are the 1 horsepower, the 1.5 horsepower, and the 2 horsepower. Those are all listed on our website. Something that's really cool that we're actually very excited about is we do have higher capacity chillers than that are not listed on the website, that we're actually helping people with custom projects, built-in cold plunges, like Mike mentioned earlier. Our chillers right now go up to 5 horsepower, which can cool up to 800 gallons. So it definitely gets more hardcore than what you see on our website, but just
Wow.
as the basic level of what you see there as of right now. The 1 horsepower is just kind of our entry level, and that's actually something that's worth talking about just there in itself, is how for a lot of companies 1 horsepower is their most powerful model. We started at 1 horsepower because we felt like from a longevity standpoint, from an efficiency standpoint, yes, a half horsepower chiller will keep your water cold, but is it going to do it for more than 6 months, more than 12 months, 18 months? It's not built to last because you're basically running this machine into the ground. And so by having, a machine that's easily capable of maintaining that temperature, you end up with something that's going to last you much longer and work much more efficiently. So yeah, that 1 horsepower is kind of our entry level. Then we have the 1.5, which is more recommended for hotter climates. Texas is a huge state for us. Florida is a huge state for us in terms of our customer base. So many of those people are buying 1.5 horsepowers. And then 2 horsepower is just like the level up from that. For a lot of people, it might be overkill, but if you're in Arizona or one of these really intense hot climates and you're worried about efficiency, you're worried about longevity, the 2 horsepower is the way to go. And so it really is just kind of on a case by case basis. Obviously, if you're indoors in a climate controlled area, 1 horsepower is going to be fine, no matter where you are. So it just, everything is kind of tailored to the individual needs of the customer.
And I can expand just a little bit on it because, again, that was one of the mysteries, that I
Mm-hmm.
had to discover when designing the system and engineering it. Yeah, what's this horsepower all about? And so the compressor is rated, on a horsepower basis, essentially. But then one thing that people don't know about is the heat exchanger, which is another super crucial component inside of all the chillers, is a heat exchanger. And our heat exchanger and how we cool the water is we use a titanium spiral tube that's inside of this heat exchanger. So when the water enters the chiller and it exits the chiller, the water goes through this chamber. And inside the chamber, imagine a spiral tube that's like 30 or 50 feet long. So it's a spiral and it's high grade titanium. So when the compressor compresses the refrigerant, it compresses it and reaches that low temperature and it runs through inside of that tubing. So it never touches the water. The water only touches the titanium. And that spiral gets really, really cold. And of course, there's a temperature, we have all sorts of sensors in there. So the water passes through that chamber, and that's how we cool it. We cool it, I think the capacity is something like 20 gallons. So it's 20 gallons at a time. 20 gallons enters, it gets cooled, it exits, and it just does that continuously. And that's essentially the magic of a chiller. And if you think about, like you've seen our chiller, Eric, you have one. I'm not sure if you've seen like our competitor chillers. I mean, they look like little toys.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
It's ridiculous, like to even consider that a chiller for cold plunging. Yeah, and they're all like half horsepower, 3/4. I mean, they're just all too small. They don't have the capacity, and they're not built to cool 100 gallons of water. So it's such, it's so silly to us when, some of these companies make the claims that they claim. So again, definitely, be careful of trying to buy, a chiller that's really not engineered or built for cold plunging.
What other maintenance do people have to do? So I'm glad you clarified the hot tub use and how that's not a good idea for the reasons that you talked about. Because, with hot tubs, they always have some sort of hook on like, oh yeah, here's a easy way to clean your hot tub. And at the end of the day, you have to get chemicals involved if you're going to really truly get it clean for all the reasons you listed. So are you having to put chemicals in this? What is it that Eric mentioned the filter change. Sounds like it's a pretty easy deal. Just what are the basics on the maintenance for people?
Yeah, so basically, Mike and I are really committed because we are a wellness company first. That's kind of what we've based this entire vision for the company off of. We really tried to stay away from chemicals, and so we have 2 chemical-free sanitation options, and those are the UV and the ozone. We also recommend that customers add food-grade hydrogen peroxide to their water. It's a non-toxic solution that oxidizes the water. It's actually more geared towards people with UV because it's kind of given them the best of both worlds by using that. So yeah, we're committed to staying away from chemicals, and we are behind the scenes working on some chemical free solutions that could be added to the water to even extend the water quality even further. But yeah, that's kind of our viewpoint on sanitation. And as far as long-term maintenance, you're looking at filter changes on average about every 4 weeks. Complete water changes on average are about 1 to 3 months. And then aside from that, if you have UV, you're changing the UV bulb annually, or if you have ozone, you're swapping out the ozone generator annually. But that's basically it when it comes to maintenance.
As far as
Right.
your food grade hydrogen peroxide, I've been putting like a cup. Is that what you guys recommend?
That might be a little bit overkill.
How much do they? Because like different references I have said, put a cup, put less. Some put more.
Let me clarify that. So food grade just means that it's less than 35%. And obviously that's a pretty big spectrum within there, from starting at 3, I believe, is the lowest that you'll find out there, up to 35. So our recommendation is to use 12% and to use a third of a cup per 100 gallons. But obviously, if you're using a higher percentage, you would use less than a third of a cup. And Eric, in your case, if you're using a cup, maybe you're using 3%.
I'm 3%. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, that's why that's working out for you. If you did a cup of 12%, you would definitely see some oxidation in the water, some foam, some smell. So
yeah, no, mine's 3% for sure. I just want to clarify that too, because I went down that rabbit hole of like, oh my gosh, this one says 12, this one says 3, one says a cup, one says, it's like, how much do you do? Right? So cool. I just wanted you guys to clarify that for sure.
Yeah, that adding that hydrogen peroxide will absolutely help you keep that crystal clear water for months. We still recommend. We have some customers that like went 6 months and they're like, I haven't changed my water yet. We're like, what? You bought it 6 months ago. They're like, it's clean, it's fine. It's like, are you sure? Like, maybe maybe get a second opinion on that. Because, in our research, after 3 months of cold plunging, and maybe that customer just wasn't plunging every day, but the water just gets really tired. It looks still good, but just like in a hot tub, like after a while, you're like, dude, I'm going to flush this thing out and just add some fresh water to it. So we definitely highly recommend doing that at least every 3 months.
Yeah, and while we're on that topic of maintenance, we actually do have something else that's pretty exciting that we're about to come out with, which is our cold plunge drain pump. And Eric, we'll definitely have to hook you up with one of these, but it's a pump that just drops into the water. It simplifies the water change process by just dropping in a pump. It'll drain your tub in about 10 minutes. You can redirect it with a garden hose anywhere you want it to go. It's by far the most convenient way to drain a cold plunge. So that's something else on the roadmap that we're very excited about.
Because what I've been doing is I've been using the video that you put out there, Mike, is using the pump you guys have, and then just taking off that bottom hose of the compressor, and then it goes out pretty quick. Because I'm kind of doing it like I'm a weirdo about the water. I'll do it like every month and a half, 2 months. I do it. I just want everything pristine and clean. But it stays super super clean, guys, for sure. Yeah, that does stay clean.
Well, I knew when we did this podcast, you guys were going to cost me some money, so we'll have to talk offline. But for anybody listening that wants to go, I know I've gone through your website. It's great. I want to commend you guys on the full transparency. One thing that drives me nuts, and I think probably most firefighters, is when you're looking at something like this and they're hiding the prices or they're hiding everything. The fact that you guys have it out there just up front, I love that. Thank you for being so transparent. But can you guys just walk through some of the options for people? Like, they go to the website, they pick what they like. I mean, obviously you guys are available to answer questions. What are some options for purchasing one of these, the financing options? As we mentioned, as firefighters, a lot of us have different types of medical insurance programs and whatnot, depending on where we work. And that's usually like our bigger audience. So this is geared towards anybody, but mainly for fire. So what are the options
So
on that stuff?
we actually partner with a company called TrueMed, which allows us to process payments with HSA and FSA accounts. So it's a very easy process. You just select it as one of the payment methods in the checkout. You complete a brief survey that's very easy, very straightforward. And once you complete that survey, you just enter in your HSA or FSA payment method, and you're good to go. And something that we wanted to bring to this podcast for all the listeners is we've created 2 discount codes that are special just for the listeners of this podcast, which are going to be RIC 150 and RIC 250. So that's RIC 150 and then RIC 250, which are going to be $150 off of a $1,500 or more purchase, or $250 off on $2,500 or more. So that's by far the best code that we have out in circulation. It's the best deal you're going to find. But I will say, I encourage all first responders, please call us, text us, reach out to us. Especially if you're local here in Southern California, we might be able to do something a little bit extra special for you, just because with the size and weight of our system, we do absorb a lot of shipping costs. And so having that local connection definitely gives us a little bit more flexibility to help you guys out.
I know you guys have a few different systems as well. You got like the classic, you got the large tank, and then you also have the more of the tub kind of plunge. Like you can't really like sit in it. It's kind of like a chair kind of thing. So how would somebody figure out which one is good for them? Like, what do you guys recommend? What have you guys seen from customer experiences? What they like, what they don't like of different variations you guys have?
Yeah, essentially, there are two kind of positions that we've discovered that are the best for cold plunging. One is sort of like the sitting down that allows you. It's a horizontal position, just like a tub, but when you're in it, your back is still upright. Like we really like during the design phase and selection of our tubs, we tried, like your traditional tub that's kind of shallow. I'm not sure if you guys tried these. There's many of them out there. They're usually acrylic or stainless steel, and you're laying in it, and it's just kind of uncomfortable. It's difficult to breathe, and it's difficult to quote unquote enjoy, right? So by selecting the tubs that we have out there, you're kind of sitting upright, you're able to extend your feet fully, you're able to really focus on your breathing, and you're able to take it all in, and you can fully immerse yourself by going, sliding your sort of butt down and going fully underwater. So that was like the requirements that we wanted to check. And we've done that with our classic and the deluxe. And the difference between those two options is that deluxe is really for people who are 6'4" and taller. Andrew's actually 6'4", and he fits into the classic. So deluxe could be like for 6'5" and taller. And then we have another product we call the barrel. So think of like a wine barrel, right? It's circular. That one is really for people who prefer like the squatting position. And we typically find athletes prefer that position because in colleges or wherever, they're kind of just like used to this. You jump into this cold plunge and you just want to get out, right? Like some of these athletes are not, they never enjoyed cold plunging. They needed to do it for recovery purposes after games or before practice or whatever, but they just really hated cold plunging. So they felt that the squatting position was that immediate, like in and out feeling. So we offered those 3 complete bundles. You'll see them on our website. Our pricing includes, everything. It's an all-in price, shipping, delivery, all of it is there. When you shop on our system, you will select your chiller, horsepower. Again, we have the 3 options, 1, 1.5, and 2 horsepower. And then you'll choose your filtration system option. So do you prefer UV? If you're putting it inside, definitely go with the UV. If you're planning to place your system outside, ozone is a great option, but UV works just as well. And then you can select a protection plan for your chiller. We're so confident in our chiller that we will protect it up to 5 years. So we have an extended kind of warranty plan for people that, really want to feel like they're protected and want that customer service support from us for 5 years. They can select that as an option as well. We also have very helpful links with kind of explanation videos. They're whiteboard animations that explain the differences and comparisons about all of our products. It's on, there's like a little blue link you guys will see when you're making those selections for chiller horsepower and sanitation and so on. So just click on those and watch our videos. We have a lot of educational videos on YouTube on our channel. Recently, we just launched a new playlist called the RevX Academy, where the goal for that playlist is to really educate, customers and, cold plunge enthusiasts or wellness, people who are just beginning on their journey about cold plunging 101, about our system, why it's different, and all of the lots of different topics that we actually touched on this podcast.
One thing I wanted to add too, just to Mike talking about the warranties that we issue, we do issue those directly too, which I think is something that's pretty rare in this industry. A lot of times it goes through a third party. And so I personally believe that that's a huge value add of the warranties that we're offering, just that we issue them ourselves and stand behind it ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've heard too many horror stories out there about third-party companies, repairs. You send in your chiller for repair and it takes 3 months for them to send it back. I mean, 3 months. Again, the whole point behind cold plunging is that for most of us, it's a daily routine. Like once you start doing it and you see the benefits, and especially if you're using it to heal yourself physically or mentally, you become dependent on it. And you don't want to, you want to have the right product. Like, it's like a refrigerator, right? Like imagine buying groceries and then your refrigerator doesn't work and all the food is spoiled, especially these days with the prices that we pay for groceries, astronomical. So, again, like reliability, I would say is the best value that we're known for. And, and we stand behind it.
Yeah. It's great that you guys I love that you have all of the information accessible as well for people to access. Can you guys do you have any current I don't know if you'd call them partnerships, but have you been able to work with any like first responder programs, whether they're fire departments, police departments? Are you starting to build that kind of network, and how's that going?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we're definitely known, I believe, within the firefighter community, especially here in Southern California. Just towards the end of last year, we actually outfitted all of Long Beach Fire Department with our deluxe bundles. That's the big tub that Mike was talking about, which also I want to include, by the way, does include the upgraded 1.5 horsepower chiller. So that's kind of part of what you get as part of that package. So we're in all 23 Long Beach Fire Department stations. We're in tons of stations around the country that we might not even know about. But we hear from tons of first responders. We're always looking to help you guys out because we truly value and appreciate the work that you guys do. So it's definitely something we're into now and looking to expand further into.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So for anybody listening out there, if you're working in a fire department that you feel like you don't have access to money to tie into something like this, be creative. I encourage you to talk to your local leadership as well as your administrative staff, command staff, and see what kind of programs you have in your department, whether it be JAC funding. A lot of departments now have ISA funding, which is a reimbursement through community colleges that we've tied in together. So basically, it's a reimbursement from the training hours that we put in. And so having the research already there existing, tie in with these guys, get the information you need, find a creative way to fund it, and then look to present that research to your administrative staff, your command staff, your fire chief, and show the benefits for the organization, for the members, for the firefighters. And then you can find a way to creatively get these things into your stations. Don't get stuck into, hey, chief, we just want these things. You have to present the information, and you've got a wealth of knowledge here. The website, these guys are saying, reach out to them. Long Beach is obviously now a resource. So if you have any friends that work in that area, reach out to them and get that firsthand review so that how to get it for the firehouse. What else is on the horizon for you guys? I mean, sounds like you got a lot of stuff cooking coming up, man. What's next?
Yo, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, again, we're definitely kind of an innovative, house. Our minds are always thinking, and a lot of it really comes from listening to our customer base and listening to the industry, right? Like, meaning what are the problems are out there? And an exciting item that we're going to be launching with is an alternative water container. So right now, all of our tubs and barrels, they're inflatable, but they're inflatable I still love my inflatable tub. I will always love it. And the main reason is because when you're inside it and you're uncomfortable because you're in really cold water, when you lean into that material, you feel a little flex and it's soft and it's nice. So you have a little bit comfort in this really uncomfortable situation, which you will never get in any other material. But nevertheless, we've listened to our customers and listened to the industry, and we're going to come out later this year with an acrylic version of the tub. But we've made a lot of improvements by looking at the industry and seeing, what the complaints are out there about their acrylic tub experience and so on. So I'm not going to kind of go into those details, but it's definitely an improved acrylic tub. And I think it's going to be kind of a breakthrough. A lot of people will look at it and try and copy it just because we're solving a lot of different issues for the average everyday use. I mean, we have other innovative solutions, and they all are revolving around how can we package and how can we bring the best engine to the user, right? It's basically coldest, cleanest water in the most reliable way, but let's make it look like furniture. Because I think our system right now, when you look at it, it definitely looks commercial, right? It definitely feels, like metal, like just, basically like pool equipment almost. And we've been always, trying to make it look like furniture. So I think by end of this year, that's something that you guys will see coming out from us.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. I've been trying to talk Mike into it for a while, and just kind of based off of what we talked about earlier. But a sauna is definitely on the radar. We'll see if it happens. We definitely have a concept in mind that's going to solve a couple of the key issues with traditional saunas out there on the market. So it's just a matter of us. We're growing. We're trying not to go too fast. Walk before we run. But sauna is definitely on the radar.
That's rad.
Cool.
So, can I throw something in real quick?
I had something. Yeah, because I just thought of something. Randomly, Eric monitors the metrics of this podcast, and we've had listeners in Europe and New Zealand. I mean, literally like around the world. So, are people from outside of the United States able to order one of these?
We've had a few people order like Costa Rica, Aruba, meaning like some countries where they were able to get like a freight forwarder and they were willing to pay that shipping cost. However, I will add that if someone's listening and you are in a country where there's a high demand for a system, we are looking for distributor type partners. So, for example, if you're in Australia is a big market. We're definitely open to talking, and our factories in Asia would be supplying direct to those marketplaces, and we're willing to partner and come up with a mutually beneficial solution for that. But if you are kind of close to United States, if you're, of course, we're shipping to Canada, but all around us, Mexico is another country that we ship to. And it's really cool, seeing your product, around the world, definitely is cool. But, we have a lot of opportunities here locally in the US. And, that's our main focus, because we know that there's a lot of people here that need it. And, that's basically our main customer base.
Yeah. With the current system, a lot of the questions I get asked, like, what are some common problems that can happen? How can you make it last longer? So the question is like, what common problems or precautions do you recommend if people want to get into this system that you've seen that they should be aware of?
Yeah, definitely.
Or heard of.
Oh, yeah, no, there's a ton. Again, so if you're shopping for a cold plunge right now, obviously look at RevX Wellness as your top choice of just getting the education behind, what a good system is. So that should be your baseline. And when you're looking at other systems, you definitely want to look at their chiller. If you see a an all-in-one chiller. They're probably not going to say it, but a really good way to see it is if you see a filter housing built into the chiller, that's basically something you want to avoid. Another question you want to ask yourself and what you're looking at is, where's the filtration system? That's like the first question, I suggest you ask the company or what you're looking at. Where's the filtration system? How are you going to keep it clean? Where's the water pump, right? Just very basic questions will lead you down to a clear picture of, hey, is this a good product? Is this going to be reliable? Or can I maintain it myself? Or am I going to be stuck calling an electrician, a plumber, or, sending out this thing for repairs? I mean, so use definitely some common sense, use our website and our support team as your kind of backbone for, getting really honest and transparent information. We do this all the time where customers call us and they say, hey, I'm comparing you to this website. Can you look at them, please? Can you tell me if this is a good deal? And we do that. We look them up, and within a couple of minutes, we're able to kind of point out that, hey, this is just a drop shipping, probably a 17-year-old kid running this business, and this thing is shipped directly from Asia to your house. Like, I don't know how confident you should be into buying something like this. And so we've saved a lot of people. We've also had a ton of customers who bought a system not from us last year, and they came back and bought a system from us this year, and they just told us like horror stories. One of the most common horror story out there is that there's a product out there that it's made for your tub for your house. So imagine like a bathtub in your house, and there's a product that sort of hooks into your water in the tub, and it takes the water out of your tub, and then it puts in cold water. And the horror stories we're hearing is about condensation that collects underneath your tub in your house. And that condensation over time turns into mold, toxic black mold. And now not only did you just ruin your tub, now you have thousands and thousands of dollars, like 5 to 10 grand of repairs. And not only that, you actually did the opposite of wellness and health. You've been breathing this toxic air for months without even knowing it. And I really caution people who are listening out there, do not use your tub in the house for cold plunging. It's just not a good idea. So those are just a few cautionary. There's many others. My best recommendation, again, contact us, use us. And again, if you're not buying from us, we're not going to be offended. But we always look for what's better than us. That's like our mission, right? Like, again, trying to build the best. So if you want the best, we're your guys.
What are some success stories you guys have heard from people cold plunging, from your customers? Like once they made the investment, as far as their, mental health resilience, physical, health. What have you guys heard some pretty cool success stories after kind of a month or 2 months or just having it for a little bit? And when do people typically start seeing the results? Like first week, second week, kind of thing?
I think people start seeing the results right away. And we actually had a customer, I won't give too many details on him, but he had several pretty serious health conditions, and he was able to get off of all of his medication using cold plunging as his replacement for those medications. And to us, hearing stories like that our product is making that big of an impact on someone's life, I mean, that's something I personally couldn't have even imagined when I got into this. So that's we've had many cases like that, but I would say those are definitely the stories that stand out to us as our biggest successes.
Absolutely. Cold plunging is an alternative to your crutch. That's how I would say it, right? So let's say you are, you're suffering and that, hey, that nicotine that you're smoking, that alcohol that you're drinking, that other dependency that you have, and you just feel like, man, that's the thing that makes me kind of, helps me go through that day, and that's my crutch, and I want to change my life. Try cold plunging. Like we hear stories all the time that help people, you essentially replace one crutch for another, but at least it's a cold plunging crutch, right? Like we should trademark that. But it's the reality is that cold water is a lot of people think, oh, can you like die from that? And the answer is no. Hyperthermia and so on, yeah, it can happen, but the temperatures need to be a lot colder. That's why we have a minimum, and that's why we only recommend 3 to 5 minutes to be in the cold plunge. If you're sitting in a cold plunge for over 5 minutes, you need to lower the temperature on the chiller and just be 1 degree less than your comfort zone. And for a lot of people, that's between 40 and 50. I mean, I know, Eric, you're at 38. You're probably kind of you like to torture yourself a little bit, but that's fine. But for most people, 40 to 50 is the right range.
Yeah, so the first time I went into it, I did 38. I was shivering like a while because I'm like, I'm just gonna go full bore into it right the first time, and I don't think I was ready for it. So I started in the 50s, then I went to 40s, and I kind of worked down. So, but is that key for people? Is that kind of what you recommend if they want to get the temperature lower? Like, can they stair step it like that? What do you guys recommend as far as starting temperature, kind of getting it lower, and to kind of get that uncomfortability, that being uncomfortable, like make it harder on yourself and progress?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we do this. A lot of us do this naturally. We recommend starting at 55 when you get our system. Start at 55 and ease into it. Right, as long as you're below 60 degrees, you are activating, scientifically everything, and you're getting all the benefits from cold water. The goal is to get that shiver effect. Not many people do for a while, but the ultimate goal is to start shivering inside the cold plunge or when you exit the cold plunge. So, and again, so everyone has a different experience, how long it takes and, what's the right temperature for how long. So essentially you start at 55 and you start lowering it by 1 or 2 degrees as you become more comfortable in that water. So for you, let's say, Eric, when you're down to 38 or so on, you will start to sit on the side with the flow and you will start to move in the water. I typically recommend that being your last minute. So the first 2 minutes, stand still, and then the last minute, start moving in the water, start moving your hands, your feet, your body, and you will immediately feel those needles and pins, hitting your skin. And once you're done, you come out. Do not towel off right away, right? You come out, try and be wet and really embrace what you just did. Take some deep breaths, really breathe in, breathe out. And depending where you are, you will probably see kind of smoke coming out of your body, and it's your body's trying to warm up, and you should shiver. And for me and for a lot of people out there who were trying to control the weight, so I'll just tell you a quick story. Like growing up, I always like had this sort of like this tire, this little extra weight, in your lower belly. And I'll be honest with you, I could not get rid of it for like I did sit-ups, I did everything, diets, whatever. But cold plunging melted it in about 6 months because when you are shivering and you're standing there after cold plunging for 3 to 5 minutes, your body's trying to warm up and it's actually using and burning that brown fat, that all of the little cells that is almost impossible to lose. But through cold plunging, for me at least, I was able to get rid of it. And beyond that, there's other health benefits, and I feel amazing. So that's why I do it.
And I can definitely second that on getting rid of that tire area, Mike. I'm about 10 to 15 pounds down with basically the same exact lifestyle before I started cold plunging. But I've been able to remove weight in areas that I could not get rid of it before, and I definitely attribute it to the cold plunge.
Nice. Do you have anything else, Shane, that you want to ask, or what you got, man?
I see, like, one of the things I really like and what I'm picking up from you guys is, it sounds to me like you could charge a lot more money for this. So why are you not? My impression, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is that the reward you get from providing a really high quality product to people that changes their lives. I mean, you can't really put a price on that.
Absolutely. There's a couple of reasons. Like, first of all, I have a corporate job. So for me, this is kind of a side gig, right? I have a higher, it's a pretty high up position, and, there's hundreds of people who depend on me. So I can't just leave that job, So I'm kind of juggling both, my corporate job and my, the RevX job. And then Andrew will talk about, his situation. So for us right now, so from a financial perspective, right? Like we're not greedy. We're not trying to make a ton of money, right? We're trying to help people, and and then have this other income, so we're able to really focus on the mission. And the um, the mission right now is to get our product out there. So if you're listening to this and it's 2025 March, definitely get the product, because our product is at its best price right now. There's certain things happening globally right now that we will be forced to increase our pricing, and it has to do with the current administration and these tariffs that are being imposed on imports. I'm sure you guys are hearing about this. And this is going to affect not just our company, but everything around us, right? I mean, bigger organizations are already saying that they're going to increase their prices. So that's going to happen. Um, but our system's definitely underpriced right now, Shane, to your point. And the main reason is simple. We want to get this to as many people as possible and continue to innovate and make the best cold plunge in the world.
Yeah.
I love it. That's Eric and I designed this whole podcast around this mentality of just so in the fire service, the RIC team, I don't know if Eric really went into this with you guys, but the rapid intervention crew is something we assign on a structure fire, which is firefighters on the exterior doing everything they can to make the interior, so the guys and girls inside that are fighting the fire, make it safer for them. And a lot of times the people that are inside don't even know what's going on outside. So, I look at this as another like incredible tool that's available to us to support our mental health, whoever you are, wherever you are, all across the spectrum. And so the fact that you guys are behind that with that kind of value in the company in terms of like your core values, it sounds like too. I mean, that's going to resonate with, I hope it resonates with people. So I really appreciate that approach that you guys are taking.
Yeah, and the other thing I would add to that is that Mike and I are in this for the long run, right? Like we see the long term vision here. And just being honest, I think a lot of people have entered this industry because it's trendy, it's hot right now. People want to get in, get out, make a quick buck, and that's just not who Mike and I are as people. So I think that's a big difference in our mentality.
Yeah, I think that's how. I think there was just a connection, because that's how Shane and I do the podcast. I could have done ads on this podcast a year ago. I could have started making revenue on this podcast a year ago, but Shane and I specifically had like the same vision of as you guys. It's like, hey, you know what? We're just going to do this to give free help to people. We're going to get the right guys that have the same kind of vision, same kind of core values. Bring those guys on. If there's a connection, cool. If there's not, then we don't need to bring any kind of big companies in or doctors in that don't have the same kind of vision or, core values. And I think somehow that we just connected in that way and it worked out. Same with Shane. He's a battalion chief. He's working full time. I'm doing my thing with the college and instructing and all these other things. And we have our other revenue streams, and we're doing this to try to just give people some kind of help because of all the stuff I went through. Shane's story of like, hey, here's a blueprint or a guideline that you guys can hopefully trust for some solid help and some solid products. And we're not, and anyone listening, we're not making any money on this product. That nothing's coming. There's no kickback to us, Shane and I. This is strictly just,
don't want that.
they're nice enough. Mike and Andrew are nice enough to give, a discount, just for, come on the podcast and trying to get people, some cold plunges in their house and get something that's going to help them personally. So, yeah.
Yeah, and Eric, I think you said that in our very first conversation about us coming on the podcast, was that this wasn't a promotional opportunity for you guys to make money. This is just about trying to really just spread the magic of cold water out there to as many people as possible.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, you guys have anything that you want to add, or you want to give us your website? How can people reach out? Anything at all for people to get access to this?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find us at revxwellness.com. That's RevX Wellness.com. And we encourage you to reach out to us by phone, chat, email. You can use the chat feature on our website. You can text us. You can call us. The number is 855-828-4377. And that's going to put you in contact with our entire team. Probably will end up speaking to me. Good chance you speak with Mike as well. We're a lean team like that. So those are the best ways to get in contact with us. We also have a support email, which is going to be support@revxwellness.com. That's another great way to get in touch with us. And just want to repeat again for all the listeners out there, we've got this discount code, which is RIC150 for $150 off a purchase of $1,500 or more, and then RIC250 for $250 off a purchase of $2,500 or more. So we encourage you to take advantage of that. Like Mike said, at some point our hands might be forced into a price increase. We're not looking forward to it, but it's just kind of the reality of the situation. So if you're on the fence, if you're thinking about buying a cold plunge, whether you're going to buy it from us or from anybody else, I'll tell you right now is the time to do it because things are about to get shaken up big time in this industry.
Yeah. What about socials? YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikToks, anything like that?
Yeah, so they're all going to be just our company name. So it's going to be at RevX Wellness, and that's going to cover all the socials for you.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Shane, where can we reach you at, man?
At ricfirecaptain@gmail.com.
Yeah, and you can reach me at What's up, dude?
Go ahead. I was gonna say, I just real quick too. Can first responders, fire departments, police departments reach out to you guys as well to set up some kind of like interactive information like this on a Zoom type call? Would you guys be able to support that?
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. Yeah, we encourage departments. Like I said, those discounts that we threw out there, that's just kind of our basic level. But anybody looking to make a bulk purchase, anybody looking to purchase on the behalf of their department, please reach out to us. We're going to do everything we can to set you guys up for success.
Awesome. Yeah, and you guys can reach me at epadgettcoching@gmail.com. If you guys can, it helps this algorithm in this world of social media and stuff. Comment if you guys liked it. Post up any questions. Reach out to us. Share it because it can definitely help somebody else. So we definitely thank you guys for listening. Mike, Andrew, Shane, thank you guys for coming on. That was awesome. It's been took a little bit of time to get us on here, but thank you guys for coming on here and giving us your knowledge and your expertise on the system and just the whole side of cold plunging.
It's been an amazing experience. Thank you, Eric, for inviting us, and Shane. It's a pleasure to speak with both of you.
Yeah, thank both of you guys. We really appreciate the opportunity. It's been a lot of fun. So maybe we'll be back one day.
Yeah. And don't hang up when Eric stops this because I got to buy a cold plunge.
Okay.
That's right. We got one waiting for you.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, see you guys. Bye.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Bye.